Hi, I'm Brittany Ashley, your host of Breaking Norms, Building Dreams, your guide through this transformative journey in both business and life. This is your place crafted for dreamers, doers, or anyone who has been told they can't. Get ready as we challenge those narratives together. You're tuning in live to the United Public Radio Network, airing on 105.3 and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. We are streaming on all the popular platforms every Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join me for a candid and thought-provoking conversation celebrating your unique journey because you are worth it. Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. We're pre-recording today. But with that, I'm super excited to finally have Annabelle on the show. We've tried to do this a few times, so I'm happy this is working out today.
Me too.
For those just listening, I'm Brittany Ashley, your host, and you're listening to Breaking Norms, Building Dreams. And we are pre-recording on United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 105.3 and 107.7 in New Orleans. Get ready to escape for the next hour with Annabelle. Annabelle, again, I'm so excited. For any of the pre-listeners and all the things, you've probably seen some promos that I did have for Annabelle to come on the show a few times. There was tech issues, sicknesses, all the things. So we're doing it. We're making it work today.
Yeah, we're here. We're finally here. It's going to be great. This is the right time.
Yes, it's a perfect time. The sun is shining behind me. It's a perfect time. I'll just do a little introduction on who Annabelle King is. Annabelle is a brand and marketing consultant and founder of I Like Storytelling and the Mindful Marketing Retreats. Annabelle builds brand stories that grow businesses. Over 20 years, she's been uncovering brand stories for global brands, local brands, and recent years for people who are on the fence of their business. She develops bespoke processes to help uncover the unique value a brand and people offer and tune into a compelling brand story. I'm so excited to have you here.
Nice. So the personal branding is for people who are the face of their business.
Yeah. Which we'll dive into, what is a personal brand, all the things, because I do think that kind of gets kind of mixed up a little bit. But yeah, maybe you can share everybody about who Annabelle is.
Yeah, well, as Brittany mentioned, I build brand stories that grow businesses. So I uncover the unique and compelling stories that customers care about, that attract them to brands. So that's products, services, or experiences, or to people. So if you're the face of your business, like if you're selling your expertise, then you are the brand. I also... I build the strategies and I do it through consultative processes, but I also facilitate strategy development a few different ways. So that's where I guide people and teams to build their own strategies. So I have a series of online courses where you can build your own brand strategies with my courses or marketing plans. I also host mindful marketing retreats, which are marketing and wellness retreats where I take entrepreneurs and teams away and they build their own brand strategies and marketing plans together in a wonderful environment where they feel good and they do wonderful, yoga and nice wellness activities and eat good food. So they feel good and they're at their best when they're building their strategies.
So how did you stumble on this path?
Which part? The retreat?
Well, there's two different levels, so we have a full hour to dig into it.
Okay. Well, I tell you how I stumbled onto the general marketing path to start with, and then into where I ended up in brand and the retreats.
Yeah.
Okay.
For me, personally, I started in the tourism hospitality business, and I randomly was working at Tourism Victoria, and then I got behind the scenes in marketing, and that's why I became and did my BBA in marketing communications, because I was fascinated on the marketing to kind of promote Victoria.
Oh, interesting. It's funny where our paths take us,
Yeah.
Mine was straight as an arrow. I did my first marketing class when I was 16, like business and marketing in school, and I fell in love with it. And what fascinated me so much about it was my own behavior. I couldn't understand how one day I was happy going about my life, doing the things I normally do. The next day, I learned about some product experience or service, and would become obsessed with it. Like, I would do everything in my power to get the thing. Like, I would believe that I couldn't live my life happily without this thing. And I was fascinated. So then I learned in that class about behavioral psychology, and that it's like monitoring how like we behave different ways. And I just was like, I have to understand this. Like, what is this human brain doing that makes me go from like happy-go-lucky to feverishly chasing this thing, you know?
Yeah.
And so I went on. I did a degree in business with a master's, with a marketing major, I suppose, but we call it something else in Ireland. And then I did a master's in marketing practice, and I went all the way. It was like marketing from the get-go. Yeah. So I learned every single type of marketing. I worked in every single type of everything from event management to branding, to packaging, to marketing planning, to strategic, you name it, I've done it. Digital, social, all of it. Yeah, so that's what brought me on the general path, for sure.
I love that. And yeah, the psychology is so funny because my husband jokes with me because I'm like, he's like, you're the worst marketer because you fall for all the marketing items.
No, we're the best marketers because we fall for all the marketing items.
There you go. Oh, I like that. Because I start like even like the little things, I'm like, oh, I like that, and I'm like but I go down the road too of research. So
yeah,
I'm like, why do I need X, Y, and Z? Like, I probably research a little bit more than sometimes the average consumer, but I get like, you know, when you're in those lineups and they have product all around you, which is smart marketing. So
yeah,
put it in your basket. Like, I'm like, no, don't look. Till
blinkers on.
Yeah, no, I love that. Yeah, I kind of went back and forth. So after tourism hospitality, I went into psychology because I loved how the brain worked, and I thought I wanted to be in like a counselor. At the end of the day, it kind of all falls together.
Yeah.
And then I realized that I had to do like so much more schooling, even though on me, we still did the same schooling that would have been for psychology, but I kind of end up falling back into the business. And then I really dug more into the marketing and doing like the BBA work, but then I fell more into the tech side of things. So it's like full circle in a way.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're not mutually exclusive. So the market, especially when you run your own business, like, you know, you go in with, I always say, like, I'm the talent, like I make the marketing, you know, but I'm also the entrepreneur who is looking to build a business that can be successful and profitable. And I'm also the manager who has to make the whole ship, the ship like work well. So like, you know, we kind of have to, I suppose, as entrepreneurs managing our own business, we have to fall in between all of them at different times, which is a lesson I keep learning in business, because I want to just lean into the talent side and make the thing, you know. But it's interesting how we both kind of came down the path of the brain side of marketing. It's like, why do we think the way we do? Why do we have these obsessions? Why do we have these attractions? And, you know, all marketing falls into two camps. One is a change in the mind or a change in the body. So like the change in the mind is a change, you know, you become aware of something, your perception changes about something, you learn something new, but it's something that, you know, where you're, you know, processing information. And the change in the body is behavior, like just taking an action, like whether it's buying the product, whether it's researching, whether it's, you know, so it's really interesting, you know, then building marketing plans where you're thinking of those two levels at all the different stages of like a customer journey. So I think that's, you know, I spent 15 years working in big advertising agencies, lots of different types of marketing agencies, like digital shops, social shops, advertising. Like, so I really am multidisciplinary. Like if there's any marketing problem, I can solve it. Like I have just such a big toolkit. But when I opened my own consulting practice 6.5 years ago, the reason I decided to focus on brand strategy, and I don't just do brand strategy, I will still solve any client's problem, but in terms of just kind of choosing a positioning, you know, like what your hero offering is, for example, you know. When I looked at all the strategies that I built, because I could do them all, I was like, well, I can't go out there and just be a jack of all trades, you know yourself, like you've got, the clearer you are, the easier it is for your customers to know you're for them. And so I figured, look, the most important thing is messaging strategy. Like, what, you know, if your brand isn't saying the right thing, nothing works. You can have a great marketing campaign, you can reach the right people in the right place at the right time, but if you don't say the right thing, it all fails. So that's why I ended up focusing on brand strategy specifically. And then I really went down a rabbit hole. Like, you know, I would say in the last 6.5 years, I can say with confidence I am an expert in brand strategy. And that's me still being a person who's humble and has humility and all that. And also as a woman, sometimes not always able to say what I'm good at. You know, we have all of these challenges to deal with. But I can say it because I've seen the evidence now. Like not only have I built a brand messaging process 10 years ago when I was in an agency, but I built it for when a brand wasn't creating a logo, right? So it wasn't the beginning. So it was all about the messaging, and it was for Kinder Bueno because they were here in the Canadian market. And Kinder Bueno, I don't know if you know it. It's this weird. No. Okay, so do you know Kinder eggs? Yeah. Okay. So Kinder Bueno is it's one of the family of those Kinder eggs.
Okay.
It's a weird little bar from Germany that doesn't really meet the criteria of a normal chocolate bar in any way. It's like, it's got all these layers on top and wafer, and then it's stuffed with cream stuff. It's like, but it's not like a normal chocolate bar. Okay. And people were like, Canadians were not sure, was it a chocolate bar? Is it a snack? Is it like, what is it? Like, nobody was like, people were just like not buying it because they didn't know what it was. So I built a brand messaging process for it. And it's funny because now when I look back, like that was the beginning of a 10-year journey for me, because that process I've done hundreds of times now. And I turned it into a retreat where I guided 20 business owners to actually build their own brand messaging. I turned it into an online course at the beginning of last year. And so that's why I say, like, now I can say I'm an expert in brand strategy, because like, I've broken the process up. I built it, broke it up, turned it into another process where non-marketers could use it. I was like, if you ask me any question about brand strategy, I could definitely answer it. So yeah.
Do you because you have like 2 different areas. Maybe we can talk about like your storytelling process a bit more, and just sharing kind of the behind the scenes and the vision that you hope to bring too.
Yeah, well, I'll talk about the vision afterwards.
Yes.
I mean, my ongoing mission always is to build brand stories that grow businesses, but also to build brand stories that help companies connect with their customers. You know, everything I do underneath, connection is what's driving it. I do not want to see any more crappy marketing in the world, where none of us need to see that stuff. We need to see strategically thought out good messaging that creates good marketing that we care about, you know. And so, you know, how that looks has changed over the years. You know, many years ago, Saatchi & Saatchi called it like a brand love process. I've learned a lot of big global agency processes. So like brand love is one of them. But yeah, so my process, I learned a bunch of really like fancy pants processes, like the brand love process from Saatchi & Saatchi, the TBWA global disruption process that like finds opportunities in the marketplace to create innovative, never thought of before products and services. Like it's very cool. And I learned all of these processes and I applied them many times. But when I built my own process, I made it much simpler, because there's a lot of excessive stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say
a lot of faff in the agencies. You know, they're trying to sell all their time, and they're trying to, you know, what my strategies used to go for in agencies is like were insane amounts of money. But the other problem with it was, if you get a big fancy pants brand strategy from an agency, like the client can't execute it afterwards. they have to go back to the agency and be like, can you now write me some copy for the website? Can you now do this? Like, so the strategy would be a guide for sure, but nearly like a bit too complicated for a client to understand, or just activate themselves without support. And to me, that was a fail. Like, it was a fail because any strategy you should build, you never wanted to be a shelf stackers strategy. You never wanted to go on the shelf. And that's why the big consulting global companies, they make these fancy pants 300-page presentations, and then clients don't know how to implement it. So my process is much easier. What comes out the other side is language you can use right away. Like, a client can use it themselves. They can go build their own website if they want and use the language that's in it. Or they can brief a creative, if they're doing something more higher production. And also, when I looked at all in the terms of the process itself, when I looked at all of the things that all of those big processes looked for, they really still all came down to 3 things. And so I just made it much simpler. Your key brand message, whatever that is, needs to be something your customer wants or needs, something that's unique in the marketplace, and something your brand can deliver. And it has to be, it has to be those 3 things.
If you add too much, like, it's hard to
it's only like, at the end of the day, that's what I say to clients, it's a line. It's one line. We can only put so much meaning into one line. And there's that old adage of, like, if you throw a tennis ball at somebody, they can catch it. If you throw 5 at them, what happens? Like, they can't catch them all. Do you know?
You're saying, I just did like a quick review of a documentation of like what an agency did. Our clients paid a pretty penny for this, and I'm reading through it. I'm like, and it's 15 brand value words of who they represent. I was like,
15?
Yeah.
Where are they going to get those 15?
I don't know. And I'm like, can we maybe make it 3, force pushing it? Like,
Yeah. I mean, so like in mine, you have a key brand messaging statement. Now, in the marketing world, that will have lots of different terms: a unique selling proposition, a brand promise. There's a value proposition. Like, I intentionally try to not bamboozle people with marketing language, but ultimately, it's a single statement that is a promise of the value that the brand will deliver. It's a promise of the value the brand will give you this, and it's just simple, and it's in simple everyday language. It does not use complicated words, does not try and sound intelligent. It's like a 5-year-old should understand what your brand message is, and that's a really important test. It should be really clear, even if they don't care about what it is. Everybody, that's what it should be. And then after that, I have 4 to 5 reasons to believe your brand can deliver. And those are tangible, functional reasons to believe, like service offerings or product functions, like things you can put your finger on, right? Or those are, or like, if you use this, you'll save X. Like, that's a tangible thing. It's a saving. And then the other reasons to believe are intangible or emotional. Like, if you buy this, you'll feel this way. If you'll experience, because we don't buy things for the functional benefits. We might think we do, but we buy with the heart and we rationalize with the mind. Like, that's actually what happens internally. We think we're thinking through it all and doing pros and cons and all this, and we might do, but normally we're actually doing that after we've decided we want the thing, which you'll know from your training as well, and so that's why, to me, emotional connection is so important, because that's actually what that connection that a customer has with whatever you're offering, or you as a provider and your reason for doing it. Like, that's actually what drives, like, the connection drives the purchase. You can give them offers, you can change the time at which they purchase, you can give them lots of reasons so that they can rationalize it. But they feel connected to it first, and they believe it's going to make them feel a different way, you know what I mean, or bring a different benefit to their life,
Yeah. And like, I have to remind myself, like, to not go into the marketing jargon sometimes. Sometimes my brain is just, because I'm the kind of person that loves to read business books, marketing book. And then I forget that some people don't remember the jargons or know the jargons. I'm like, okay, how do I break this up so it makes sense? Or I like that you think of like the strategy too, and work with the messaging on that, because I find we get a lot of clients too that come to us being like, oh, we want social media help. And it's just kind of like, well, do you?
Yeah. Well, listen, and when those clients come to me, I'm like, sure, let's look under the hood and see what's going on. And I'm like, you need to fix your messaging. Because it's always the foundational thing. If you're not saying the right thing, it doesn't matter whether you make better social. If you're not saying the right thing, it won't work, or just clients who think they know the answer to the solution. And hey, sometimes they do. But it's when you're on the inside and it's your business, it's very hard to see what all the options are. That's why you go to an external consultant like yourself. That's why you look for an outside opinion where it's unbiased,
And I like reaching out to individuals like you to get other input, because I'm just so I have ADHD. So I go like 100 miles a minute. And then sometimes when I'm like thinking for myself, like, I don't know, because I'm just so close to it. I need outside opinions. But if you came to me to ask me X, Y, Z, I'm like, I know I can figure it out. Figure it out. But for myself, like I joke like I'm my own worst client. Though this year I'm practicing into that funnel of I'm going to be my best worst client. And
that's a great idea. That's a great idea.
And so going back to that, some of the individuals that came to us about social media, so I know there's a lot of people promoting marketing wise, like you just need social media, you just need X, Y, and Z. But like you're saying, sometimes it comes down to the messaging, and it's not just social media too. Sometimes you're going to find other areas that you can put your money, that you're going to see those return on investments. So this one particular company, they let go their social media person and they came to us, and we did like a full-on marketing strategy planning inside and out. And we're not even doing social media right now. We're doing like email funnels and all these other things.
Nice.
Because their return on investment right now was more on just sending out one newsletter. So sometimes like you go talk to Annabelle, all the things. But yeah, maybe we can dig in on like personal branding, because I feel that everybody kind of gets stuck a little bit there. And I like to talk to people that your brand's always evolving. So I know who I am now. Been doing this for 6 years. When I first started, I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I want to be a VA, which now turned into this year. I've realized I'm a lot more of like a business consultant / doing like all the things. And that's what I thrive in. And so my messaging is going to look completely different from day one to 6 years.
Yeah. And it should. And it should. Do you know what? I just got off a call before this because I'm doing some research with people on personal branding and what they think it is, and I'm doing it because I'm being a good brand strategist, and I'm going to build an actual brand strategy for my personal brand strategy course business. Instead of just, it's kind of evolved where I've been building all of the content and the marketing messaging and promoting the course, and from the feedback that I'm getting from people, but I haven't done, up until this point, it was still growing. I hadn't done the due diligence to stop and actually treat myself like a client. Brittany, to your point, hey, I'm like letting a business evolve, but I need to stop and actually define the brand, and it was really interesting because I was asking her, she's in business 5 years, and I was asking her, I was like, hey, would you like a personal brand strategy? Like, is this something you feel you need? She goes, oh, yeah. I said, is there anything that's in your way? Like anything that's stopping you from building it? And she said, oh, well, because I feel bad for not doing it in the beginning. And it was so interesting because I was like, the remorse is going, I was like, it's like the analogy of like, when's the best time to plant a tree? Well, 100 years ago, but today is good too. Like, so to your point, I said to her, like, hey, you could have done it in the beginning and you could have defined it then. But, 5 years in business, you would come back and redo your brand anyway, because remember what I said there about like, you know, so when it's a regular brand, not even a personal brand, because there's another element to that, but like what your customers need and want, what's unique in the marketplace, and then what your brand delivers. Like over 5 years, think about how all of those things can change. Like your customer needs and wants now are different than they were pre-pandemic, like night and day, right? So if you had a brand pre-pandemic, you should definitely have revisited it to ensure that what you're saying is still compelling. And the marketplace completely changes in 5 years. Who your competitors are today is different in 5 years. There'll be new people. Your current competitors may have upped their game. Some of them might have disappeared. What your brand delivers is different. Like you said, you've evolved from, hey, VA offering to, oh, I lead a team of VAs, but actually I get in there and consult businesses and what the best approach is in terms of their planning. And yes, VA support may be part of that, but you're getting in there to make sure they're doing the right thing, right things. So yes, it is like your personal brand evolves. And then of course the difference with a personal brand is there's another element. It's the human, right? So 6 years ago when I built the personal brand strategy, it's different because there's some other elements in there for consideration. There's individual strengths. So I get people to do a Clifton Strengths test where they find out about their 5 strengths. It's always like really revealing. Everybody should do it. By the way, if you haven't done it, go do it. It's about $40 to do. I did it about 8 years ago, and I go back and reference those strengths all the time. In fact, I choose jobs based on those strengths. I go, will this meet these 3 strengths? So yeah,
to that.
Yeah, so Clifton, so it's called so Clifton Strengths Test is owned by Gallup, GALLUP.
Okay.
And so that you can grab it from there. But it's very insightful. But the point is, like, you have to learn about the internal things and ensure that they are being expressed in your personal brand, because for me it's really, really important that whatever your personal brand is expressing you authentically. And I know, God, the word authentic is thrown out far too much out there. But for me, it's like, if we're gonna create messaging, if we're going to create a personal brand statement that expresses the value that you uniquely deliver compared to everybody else in the world, it has to sound like you. It has to express you. The other thing that we look at is that we look at your values, you know, like what's important to you, because you want to make sure that lines up too. You know, imagine you could have marketing messaging that's very competitive, maybe, that wouldn't line up with values of, you know, building community support, which is something you want to do, you know. So it's just, so it's the human in there. The other thing that we do in the personal brand strategy process that's really interesting, and this is, everybody who's listening, do this yourself. It's an exercise you can do yourself. I do it in a workshop whenever I do the webinar on how to build a personal brand. List the top 5 things that you do, like, be they service offerings, packages, whatever, what the thing you do. Like, so for you, for example, like business consulting, do you know what I mean? Like solving problems with virtual assistants, improving internal processes. Like, those are things you do, right? They're like a tangible things you can put your finger on, you know, they exist. Then translate each of those things into what does that deliver for the client, and make it emotional. Like, when somebody works with you and you do this planning exercise with them for their business consulting, where they come to you for social media, but you're like, no, let's just look under the hood and see all the things and figure out, like, what are your goals and where do you need return on investment soon, and like, let's focus on that. So what that delivers to the client, yes, you're delivering a plan, you're helping, you know, that's a tangible thing, but the emotional and intangible benefits of that consulting is that they feel confident they're doing the best thing to grow their business. So you're delivering confidence. So it's very interesting if you go in and look at those 5, you know, 4 or 5 top things that you do, translate them, like really, like, put yourself in your customer's shoes and go, what does this mean to me? What is the impact it has? It will change how you market yourself. Like, just that exercise, right? And that's just one little part of the personal brand strategy process. Because you know what? We are so busy talking about the thing we made and the thing we do and how we do it. And, you know, I listen to Blair Enns a lot, and he goes, we're always talking about how the sausage is made.
So, yeah.
Yeah, because we're fascinated by it. We're like in the do, right? We're in the do all the time, and we think it's really cool that these are the steps we take. Even me talking about my process, I think it's really cool, right? But I've had to rein that in a lot, you know. And I to get it to a point where people just get, oh, it's these 3 things, you know, that we do. But obviously, there's a ton of stuff that goes behind uncovering all those insights for what people want to need, what's unique in the marketplace, and what the brand delivers. But like, I used to talk about all the nitty gritty of how I did all the things, and people would be bamboozled. They'd be like, they don't care. And there's Annabelle storytelling for 25 minutes about how she does her research. They don't care. Yeah, they care when they look at a budget and see how much it's going to cost. But like, so putting yourself in your customer's shoes and going, hey, what does this actually mean? Like, what is the impact? How does this make them feel? Because remember, they buy from the heart, not the head. They rationalize with the head. And so just that exercise.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
And I feel like, just so anyone listening, like, I've been on such a journey, like I'd say inside out kind of journey of like business / personal. And so like the one thing though that has always been true is helping business owners to really understand like why they're doing what they do and how we can best like make sure that they're feeling comfortable too and understanding some parts of the business. You don't have to be an expert anyways, but like it made me realize, oh, like that brings light into my life. Doing that, like the different levels. Yeah. Yes, I do marketing, but I don't know if my ADHD superpower. I just want to be able to touch in different areas because it brings me so much joy. So your brand, your personal brand is always evolving. What do you think about logos?
For personal brands?
Personal brands, yeah.
Yeah. I think sometimes they're appropriate and sometimes they're not. You know, I don't have a logo for my personal brand. I build brand stories that grow businesses. That's my personal brand statement. All of my marketing has that as a takeaway. Yeah. I'm always talking about whatever I'm talking about. I want that to be what you walk away with. It's always underneath everything is that I build brand stories that grow businesses. I'm always looking for the growth. And that growth can look different. I mean, you could imagine that you could take that statement, and I've had people that I have built personal brand strategies for, and I've had people who've done my course that have taken their personal brand statement and they've used it as a brief to build a logo. And I think that's a good idea. Or they've used their personal brand statement as a tagline to a logo, to a more kind of, kind of ambiguous, beautiful icon that's designed for the, like a design element. So yes, you can do it if it feels appropriate. I would say if it adds value, if it helps express it more, then sure, go for it. But it's not necessary, Now, for me, my personal brand, like my company brand, is I like storytelling. So I think it would be confusing if I then had a like a logo. Do you know? I think it would be, and how would I put those logos together? That would be a bit of a competition. Yeah. But then also, I like storytelling. Like when people come and buy consulting from my practice, even though there's me and there are some other strategy consultants that work with me, it is still my expertise they're buying. They know the team are there and the team can support. And sometimes the team are running projects or meetings, but they know it's my expertise in the background that they're buying. So I suppose that's something to consider. Like, I wouldn't build a logo if you've already got one for your company, because often you'll have one for your company, but if you don't have one for your company and you are it's your name, you can build a logo with your name if you like. Do you know what I mean? And put your personal brand statement as a tagline. So does it add value and, and help you express what you do? And will it be in competition with something else? Because there's too many ping pong balls being thrown or tennis balls being thrown at people. You know, give them like with mine. If I gave them 2 logos, people would be like, "What? Who am I? Why would I go? When do I go to I Like Storytelling? And when do I go to whatever my
yeah. So like creative dynamic virtual services, because I never say the full name because it's such a mouthful.
Yeah.
I created a logo a long time ago, and it's still true to what it is. I do speaking events or whichever. Like, I represent Creative Dynamics. I am the brand.
Yeah.
How I've positioned myself. But originally, I was like, I just want the logo to be its own thing, not me. Don't, you know what I mean? Like, I would want it to be like, here's the logo, and then I want to go over here with just me. And then this year, I just put it all underneath one umbrella.
Yeah.
And me more of the personal brand. So with that, who can't speak right now. Who do you think needs a personal brand? Is it small businesses?
Who needs? So I'll say a personal brand strategy and a personal brand. Anybody who is the face of their business needs a personal brand. And what I mean by that is if you are selling you and your expertise, you have to have a personal brand. You know, if you're like, you know, you are the leader of Creative Dynamics and you are the face of Creative Dynamics. You do have a team of many other people, but like people are buying you when they buy your services. So anybody who is the face of their business. And honestly, in today's virtual world, if you don't have one and you're selling your services, you're already losing business to your competitors. And I'll tell you why, right? 10 years ago, your first meeting might have been with your client in person, right? That is not the case now. Now, your client meets you between 1 to 15 times online before they ever even have a conversation with you. Like they see, for example, this, you know, there'll be plenty of people in your audience who don't know about me or the New Orleans radio show, who haven't got a clue who I am. And their first meeting with me is them seeing me like this, right? And then they might go Google me, you know, or they might hit the link here and they learn more. Think about how many more interactions can happen there before they ever email me or DM me to actually have a meeting in person. So at all of these points that people can potentially meet you, you need to make sure that there's something articulating what you do. So like I've said many times, I build brand stories that grow businesses. It's what you're hearing me say now. It's what you're hearing me express in my message. It's what you're seeing on my LinkedIn. It's what you see when you land on my website. Like it's on the signature of the email. Yeah. So like, it's like you're leaving like a little breadcrumb trail that says like, this is what I do. This is the value I offer. This is what I do. This is value I offer. This, you know what I mean? So, and then that of course encourages people to get in touch, you know. If you think about the opposite, right, not having some sort of articulation of the value that you offer, and if let's just say I said I build brand strategies, I build brand strategies, and people are like, what's a brand strategy? I mean, that's a problem I had for many years. I called it many different things to try and people don't know. They have to be educated, you know. They don't know the value unless they've been in a really big company and, you know, they've been through the process. And many people in marketing departments have not, just depending on their career, have not had the opportunity to build a brand strategy for their company or their brand, right? So you just can't assume that everybody knows what a brand, like I'm a brand strategist. So basically think about people see me in different places or they come to my LinkedIn. They're like, I don't know what that means. So then they never reach out to me. Like, but when I say I build brand stories that grow businesses, everybody understands what that means. They're like, I don't care how she does it. I don't care how the sausage is made. Come here.
You said that because like this year, if anything, the one thing that everyone keeps saying to me is like, I've been seeing you everywhere lately.
Nice. Really? I have also seen you everywhere. It's been great.
I'm like, really? Because like I just had a conversation with you right before we are doing the recording. I'm like, I'm just like surviving over here because the kids are super sick or personal things. Why some of the listeners, you haven't seen a lot of lives this year. It's just a lot of things behind the scenes. I'm just like feeling like I'm keeping my head above the water sometimes. But everywhere I go, they're like, "Oh, I've been seeing you." I'm like, "How?"
You've had a good you have had a good visibility strategy. And I do know from our chats before, even last year, you were like, I've got goals. I want to do X number of podcasts, X number of speaking events. And you did that work, and now there's a lot of content out there in the world as a result.
That's true. Last year I went hard, probably why I was super burnt out in December. Maybe this was my saving grace year, to be honest. Wow. Being like, of the universe being like, you need to pull back a little bit because we know you.
Yeah.
Because I did so many speaking events in person. I had a goal of 5 and I did 10.
I think I caught your last one. Was it in November in Victoria? It was wonderful. You're a great speaker.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And then I've been asked to do I got requested / I did the intake form. I was like, no, they're not going to pick me. Let's go with 70 plus people. I'm like, they asked me to come. Now I have to go speak in front of 100 plus people. I'm like, why? Oh. I'm terrified of public speaking.
No. Here, the trick about speaking, you probably know this already, but I have learned from many experiences over the years. And I say it to anybody who's about to speak and they're nervous about it. The audience has no idea what you're about to tell them. They have no idea. So you're in the power position. You've got something valuable to share that can help them, and they have no idea what's coming. So they're always grateful. Do you know what I mean? If you have a good message and you've got good stuff to share, which I know you do, anybody you speak to is going to be really grateful that they were at that talk, I
love that. I like having that idea. I used to be in Toastmasters a long time ago. That was my very first in person was just full on crying.
Okay, I was about to say Toastmasters is very good for technique. Unfortunately, it didn't work so well for me because they would ding the bell so many times because I'd say, "Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean?" That was my my tell, or I go and so. And then they would stop me and go, "We don't know what you mean." So stop asking us. And one time I was like, I got 17 dings. And I just was like, I can't speak anymore. So I'm an extrovert. Yeah. The stage is a happy place for me. I was like, I can't deal it. You guys are too mean. And they weren't. They're training and it's really good. But there were some habits that were so hard for me to break. Yeah. So why did you cry?
Well, I went in there going let's tell a personal story. And then they're like, that's the first thing not to do.
I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. In all of my storytelling research, and I've done a lot.
Yeah.
Telling, I suppose it depends. Personal anecdotes are really good for one, letting the audience get to know you.
Yes.
2, being vulnerable is a great way to connect. And I don't mean being vulnerable, telling a story about trauma. That's not unless you're in a room with people who are experiencing a lot of trauma, that's not a great idea. There's a balance, but but being vulnerable and being like, I messed up, and they're like, oh, you're human. This is great. And the other thing is the little personal stories that can express a point is really helpful in getting your message across. People buy stories. They buy stories. They don't want to be taught. None of us had a great, school was not our favorite time being talked at for an hour in a lecture, right? People don't want to be talked. In fact, they actually kind of glaze over if you talk at them too long. I call it transmitting. Don't if you're transmitting, you're they're just zoning out. So you telling a personal story that helps them it helps people engage, and you just got to choose the right stories, obviously,
Exactly.
Yeah. Will I give you an example of?
I think it was it's a happy medium, right? So for the event that I'm going to be speaking at, why did I sign myself up for an hour and a half? Brittany.
It's a long talk. That's a long talk.
But it's going to be an hour, I've decided. The last are 45 minutes, give or take, which I know I can at least then the Q&A for an hour, and then networking. And
Yep.
because at the end of the day, like, I'm all about collaboration and networking.
Yep.
And I want that last 30 minutes for everybody in the room to go around and ask, like, get more curious and get to learn
Yep.
more about people. And
Yep.
like, that's just naturally me. And so I'll put it all within my presentation. So I'm still there for the hour and a half.
Yep.
I'm talking to 45 minutes, Q&A for the last 15,
Yep.
and then networking. I'm like, that's just, I'm still using the room. And
yeah, and you can give them the job. So
yeah.
give them a networking job. So I've done the last, like, the personal brand strategy talk I gave in October, which was an hour and a half, similar to that. I spoke for 45, 50 minutes. We had a Q&A that ran a little bit longer, about 20 minutes. And then I got them to do a workshop, but I got them to do an exercise with each other. So they all did the what do you do and what do you deliver exercise. And then I asked them to work with the partner to translate what they did into some other things. So they had a job. And so in the room, 5 minutes later, the room is roaring, laughing. Everybody's having a great time. You can see they're connecting. Like, it also just makes networking easier, doesn't it? Especially when you give them a job where, hey, your job is to big up your new friend. Like,
yeah.
That's a great job.
Yeah. So I've decided, like, I'm going to do that, kind of roll that with the conversation, because, like, just with talking for an hour and a half, like, I feel like I put people to sleep. But I know I'll bring my personal antidotes in the mix, like we're talking about, like Toastmasters. Like, there's some people that just go in there. I'm like, how did you do that? For like some of them kill it and very engaged and but like I like those personal stories that are like extra things in between. And anyways,
well, and then the other thing is, in your 45 minutes, you can ask questions. Share everything about you and be like, hey, does anybody else have a similar experience they want to share? And then people start sharing stuff, and then that lights up the room too, you know? And it gets people when they know they might be asked a question, they're like suddenly awake.
Yes.
I might be asked. I better turn on again.
Yes.
So, you know, I alluded to this earlier. So, like, one of my personal anecdotes with the personal brand statement was, in my first 5 years, in my first 3 years of selling my business, I was selling brand strategy. And I was telling people everything about brand strategy, and I was bamboozling them with the details about how to build a brand strategy, what was important. And I was getting like glass faces, you know what I mean? People were glazing over. And I tell the story because, like, there were times people were buying, you know, enough people were buying what I was selling, but I don't, you know, for me to still be in business, which was great. But they weren't buying because they understood the value of what I offered. They were buying because they liked me, or because they believed in my expertise, or they believed I could deliver a solution that, you know, but they weren't. It's different now. And so I realized that I needed to stop talking about competitive audits, market research, you know, customer research. And because people were just, it was too much information. So now I'm just like, I build brand stories that grow businesses. Sometimes that's a brand strategy. Sometimes that's content strategy. Sometimes that's stories that live in other places. Sometimes it's employee stories, you know, and I don't bamboozle them with how the sausage is made so much. But it's ironic that my hardest challenge as a brand strategist was articulating the value that I delivered. But listen, if I could go back in time, I would cringe. Like, thankfully, then in those first couple of years, we weren't recording meetings. Zoom hadn't taken off. It was before the pandemic. But if I could go back now and listen to some of those conversations, I'd be like, oh, no. You don't know what you're talking about, and you're still talking, and it's 25 minutes later, right? So that's a person. Yeah.
It made me think of, actually, I had a discovery call meeting, and I just like background in tech, and I'm like, did you know, like, the DNS of the SDK thing? And then I remember everyone looking at me like, what is she talking about? I'm like,
yeah, totally.
What happens when you live in tech/development world for too
So you're right. So, like, same, except people expect it with tech. So I just expected that people were understanding me, but they weren't. Brittany. Like they weren't.
Well, this was a discovery call of people not knowing what I was saying either. Because they said they had an issue and I just spitballed all the ideas of what the issue could probably be solved with. Not realizing that it was like just a glass over.
Yeah.
And so what you're saying for the marketing personal branding piece, I'm looking at the time. Let's get into your mindful marketing retreats a little bit.
Yes. So, well, actually, you know what? Just before we jump in there, there's something I want to share about the personal brand strategy piece. Is that if you're a business owner and you're the face of your business, it's really important to be part of the process. Because when you build a personal brand strategy, you learn so much about your business, you learn so much about your customers, you learn so much about the market. It's invaluable information that every business owner should have. But you know what? We don't have time to do that stuff. We're like busy in the do of running our business. So if you have an opportunity to build a personal brand strategy, it's really, really valuable to actually be in it and doing it, because it's kind of like it's business strategy and it's personal brand strategy. And it can help you grow your business in lots of other ways too. So that's what I would encourage. Like I build them on a one-on-one capacity, like where I build it for a client, and I run an online live course where we have co-working groups together every week, and we work through all the exercises together. And it's great because all the business owners like talk to each other. They talk about everybody has the same problems. We've all got imposter syndrome. We all don't believe we're worthy enough. We all are afraid to say the value that we offer. We are afraid, it's so fascinating that I've seen the same limiting beliefs come up over and over again. So if you can do it yourself, and if you can do it with other people, that's awesome too. And then, look, when I do it in consulting, that is awesome too. I mean, I'm an expert in building them. So it's like, you always get a great brand strategy. But I just think, like, as an entrepreneur, it's good to go through the steps because you learn so much along the way. So anyway,
I want to kind of tie into that. That kind of can outplay into your onboarding process, your offboarding. Like it makes you kind of think of like what those extra touch points. Yes, we're building our personal brand, but sometimes like this is what I work with a lot of clients on of, okay, what is like that workflow of the consumer journey from X to Z or whichever. So it helps you kind of think a little bit more like, oh, you know what? I actually want to provide an extra PDF or a welcome video here to make sure that touch point is really clarified when I bring on a new client, for example, or vice versa.
I mean, it can, honestly, the stuff that you uncover along the way, like you'll have all these other ideas for ways to improve your business, processes, systems, helping clients, like it just illuminates so much stuff when you go through the steps. It's like, it's really, really good. The mindful marketing retreat. So they were my baby beautiful idea, I came up with the idea where it came from is like marketing planning is really hard. Like it's hard to if you're an entrepreneur and you run your business, it's hard to stop running your business to do marketing planning because it's working on your business instead of in your business. And it's hard for us to do that anyway. It takes a lot of time. Like it takes a lot of time. You've got to do a lot of research. You've got to do a lot of work. So, it's just hard. So it's like taxes. You put it off, right? Because
yes.
My year end is the end of April. So there are a list of 10 things I should have done already, but I have not done them. So anyway, it's hard. It's hard. And it's extra hard if you don't know the most efficient way to do it. Like that's really hard too, especially if your skills or talents are in another area that isn't marketing. So I wanted to come up with a way for people to do marketing planning so that it was pleasant, like so they enjoyed it, but also so that they could build better plans. And then also if you're in a company and there's a team, it's also really hard to get your team together to spend the time together all at the same time. It's even hard to schedule them. If you've got a marketing team of 5 people, it's really hard to get them for 2 hours a week all together at the same time over like a 3-month period, which is what's required, right? So it's just hard. So I came up with the idea for the mindful marketing retreats, and they're marketing and wellness retreats. And so the idea is I take teams and individuals away, and you come into this beautiful wellness container. And we do yoga in the morning, we do Tai Chi in the afternoon, we eat delicious, healthy food, and I run a series of workshops, and we work in sprints every hour where you've got another little job, another little exercise. And we have these energy breaks, and we're like literally feeding our body and feeding our mind with all of these things that help us feel energized. You know, visualization exercise, meditation exercise. It's basically a marketing retreat wrapped in a wellness retreat.
I love that.
Yeah, and they're wonderful, right? Like wonderful. Like I came up with the idea in the middle of the pandemic, which was kind of a crazy idea to come up with these in-person retreats. Yeah, like crazy. In fact, there was a few times I thought, am I crazy? Is this like my coping mechanism for the pandemic that I'm designing these beautiful?
No, it was perfect.
Yeah, it was. Every day I would visualize the retreats. Every night I would visualize the retreats, and I would write down. I have a huge notebook that has all of the ideas of what the retreats look like. And they came to life. So for 2 years, 2022, 2023, I ran 4 retreats. And in 2023, I ran 2 of the big ones, the 2 4-day retreats with 20 people. One of them was to build your brand story, and one was to build your marketing plan. And they were amazing. Like they were amazing. Now, I will say it was a big year for me. Like I was an event salesperson, an event manager, an event planner. I'm not even near the marketing piece. I was a travel coordinator, a logistics coordinator. I was managing a retreat center. Like it was crazy. I had no idea how much work was, how many jobs were involved, but I did all the jobs. But the retreats are amazing, and the people who came had a wonderful time. Everybody built amazing plans, and I mean, like, you know, 80% as good as I could make them, which was a worry for me. I just didn't know if the live process would work as well. And they gave these testimonials. They had such like monumental experiences. Like one person, I can't say who the company is, 2 marketing directors came from one company, and they're coast to coast, and there was 5 brand managers. And one of the marketing directors had such a profound time at the retreat. She rang me 3 weeks afterwards, and she goes, that retreat opened my eyes to so many things. I've decided I'm going to leave this company. That was not the plan. But she goes, no, and she was like, this is what I realized through the planning process was my values no longer align with this company. And what you did on that retreat, like that, it makes me want to do other things now. And she's gone up. She's now the marketing director for the Red Cross.
Oh, wow.
So like,
those are things that are so like, I think like the whole premise of the show too is that we are all worthy of whatever we want to do in life. Yes. And we are all worthy to be in the right place that we want to be. So sometimes we're in a company that is very toxic or just not in alignment with our values. Yeah. And we're struggling with where our worth is. Yeah. And like going through those kind of retreats, sometimes having that moment to kind of step back and reflect what our true values are can put us back into the place where we're more in alignment too. Yeah. It's like they were amazing. As a business professional, though, after the big year, like there's big costs, big stress, big financial pressure with running them. So last year I took a break and turned the retreats into online. I say took a break. I just created a whole other thing. I turned the retreats into online courses, which took a whole year of my life. And I became an online course salesperson and a content marketing person for online courses. Anyway, now I'm doing something in the middle, which is these live online courses. But that is, it's one of my big lessons that sometimes you have ideas and you don't know what bringing the idea to life will turn you into. So it's worth taking a moment before you go gung ho to see what bringing your idea to life. I love it though. We're pretty much at time. Is there any, maybe just here, let me pull up your website here. Or actually, where would you like everyone to find you?
Well, so you can find me at iLikeStorytelling.com. That's my website. You can also find me there on LinkedIn. I'll say if anybody's interested in personal branding, there's lots of freebies on my site. So go to the personal brand strategy page. You can download a bunch of things, including a mini course for free. So you can go play around with that and actually do a little bit of work yourself. Of course, I'm always available if you want to do more. And I've got some live online courses coming up that'll be pretty exciting. But I would say go nab the free stuff and then do a little bit of the work yourself. It's very valuable, like at any stage in your business.
I love that. So you can, anyone listening can find Annabelle on LinkedIn. So it's Annabelle King, King. And then the website is ilikestorytelling.com, just all in one word, for the freebie. So thank you so much, Annabelle, for coming on today. Thank you for all our listeners tuning in to Breaking Norms, Building Dreams, and a big thank you to United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Network. Hopefully in a week's time we'll be live, so